We are live. This is it.
Right.
It's supposedly actually happening.
Yay.
So exciting. I am so sorry for anyone who's here who tried to tune in earlier and didn't get to see us because my computer was just not working at all. So here I am with Karen, who has graciously agreed to come back and do this recording and talk to us about money mindset. So welcome, Karen.
I'm super excited to be here. I'm glad we found a time and a technology that works for all of us.
Yes, yes, me too. So one of the reasons that I thought it would be amazing to have you be one of the speakers of the Success Alchemy Summit is that I think most of us know what it's like to spin your wheels in your business at some point in your business journey, especially as an entrepreneur. And if you're a solo entrepreneur when you start out, and that feeling of like putting in 100% effort, but not getting results that you're hoping for is really disheartening. It's painful. It's just a terrible place to be. And so that's one of the reasons I want to be a business coach, is because I want people who have this creative vision, this desire to do good in the world with their business. I don't want them to struggle, right? And so, I want them to have access to amazing resources to help them on their journey. So that's the idea of the summit. And I think the piece that you're bringing is super, super important. So, Karen, tell us a little bit about you and what you do and how you help people.
Yeah, so I'm so grateful to be here. I'm excited for the entire summit, and thank you again for having me. So I am a transformational money mindset coach and a certified pro EFT tapping coach, and I help women plus remove the inner barriers to outer wealth. So I help them identify and release all of the familial, generational, societal and patriarchal money programming that may be holding them back from making, earning, and enjoying more. I help them create abundance in all areas of their life and identify what might be holding them back from doing that and from creating that kind of expansion that they are looking for. And I think what you said earlier about, like, you know, we all kind of hit roadblocks on the entrepreneurial path. It's so important to just know that, I think, from the start, that you can't, start moving along the entrepreneurial path and not hit roadblocks. So I think even just like as part of your money mindset, like knowing that like part of this process is going to be, I'm going to bump up against things that are going to be challenging, and I'm going to have the opportunity to navigate my way around those challenges so that I can keep taking steps towards the life and business that I really want to create for myself.
Yes, yes, because the thing we really don't want is for people to give up. And I have seen people give up, and that's just heartbreaking. There is, because there are tools out there to make it easier and to get you through those difficult spots that you're going to hit. So,
Yeah.
yes, I think that's yeah. So it's so important for us to show up when we know we can help people, because there really are people out there struggling, and so we want to do that. So tell me a little bit about what pivotal moments got you to where you are today in terms of where you've chosen to focus with your work.
Well, I'll try to make this short and sweet, because there were several pivotal moments, and some of them are quite dramatic. I mean, my story essentially starts in 2008 when I was hit and run over by a car. And that led me on a very deep and long healing journey. I was living and working in New York at the time. And what I learned, because I was mired in PTSD and chronic physical pain for many, many years. And what I learned was that healing the PTSD and the chronic pain was not about the PTSD and the chronic pain. It was about the events, the stories, and the beliefs that were underneath all of that. And it was when I started to heal those things that the surface level issues of the PTSD and chronic pain started to go away on their own. And then when I found myself, fast forward, almost $13,000 in debt in 2017, I knew it wasn't about the money, right? It's not about the surface level issue. And
Yeah.
so I took what I had learned in my healing journey and I kind of transposed it onto my financial life, because I was like, I got some work to do around my money mindset. I don't even know how I got here. And so because I knew that it wasn't about the money, I knew that it was about the events, the stories, and the belief systems that I had picked up along the way that got me in that hole. So it was when I started healing those different layers of my money story. And that included like looking at the family programming and the patriarchal programming and, how to be a woman in the world and what does that mean? And, who am I to have X amount of dollars or make this amount of money? When I started to heal those things, then I started to be able to get rid of the debt, and I got rid of all of the debt. And in the time frame I was getting rid of the debt, I also took a trip to Costa Rica and I bought a new to me car because I was learning about expansion rather than contraction. And that completely changed how I was showing up in relationship to money. And by healing the deeper layer, I healed my relationship with money and started getting the results that I wanted. So if you think about it, like I always use the metaphor of the garden. It's like when you think of like traditional money advice or even business advice, sometimes it's like, well, we're going to give you the strategies, we're going to give you the budgets, we're going to give you the action steps. And those are absolutely necessary. They are part of the process. And if you're not looking underneath the surface at the root of that issue, if you think about it like a weed, and it's like the strategies and the budgets and whatever else, like they're going to cut that weed off at the surface of the soil, but that weed is likely to grow back because you haven't gotten to the root of the issue to begin with. So my work goes to the root of the issue. And then, I have some strategy, but I also work with people who are better at strategy than I am. And that kind of, those two things together are really what I think is the sweet spot in terms of learning how to be in relationship with money and not giving up, and then actually getting the results that you want. So that's what has helped me.
Oh, wow. What an amazing story of resilience and just growth, and then sharing the strength that you've harnessed with others. It's really beautiful. Thank you for sharing that, Karen.
Yeah. It's been
And
a wild ride.
yes, yes. And
Yeah.
actually, I think that that is one of the beautiful things about entrepreneurship, is that it does push us to grow in
Mhm.
not just externally. It's very much a personal growth journey. That intersection of personal growth and business growth is fascinating to me. That's why I
Oof.
do what I do. And I can really so strongly relate to what you're saying, because
Yeah.
I know that in my business journey and with my clients, I had the best strategies. I had, just the most amazing business coach training. But I was finding that those blocks in the business that we just
Mhm.
couldn't overcome, they weren't strategic. It didn't matter that we had the best playbook in the world for the business. It was actually about very much deeper level things, which is why I then went on to do, much deeper level coaching training, because I think
Mhm.
there's a lot to mine underneath. Yeah.
Yeah, and so many of those blocks are subconscious, like they're not in our conscious awareness. So we might say like, I want to build the six-figure business, the seven-figure business, take over the world, like whatever your particular desire is, we can have that conscious desire. And that is a beautiful thing. And that is such a, that's like, if you're there, like, God bless you, because so many women don't even know what they want. But we can have that conscious desire. But if we have subconscious desires or hidden money programming that speaks to something that goes against our conscious desire, we're not going to be able to move forward, because essentially we have one belief moving in one direction. Like, I want a 6-figure business, but then we have this other belief that says it's not safe to be visible in the world because of XYZ thing that happened in the past. Or I want a 6-figure business, but rich people are evil. People
Right.
who have lots of money are greedy and materialistic and ruining our planet. And it's like, so you've got this going on in your mind. So you might start to make some, you might start to have some momentum and start to get some results, but then you'll pull yourself back, or something will happen, because like you're trying to row a boat in two directions, essentially. And so it's not until we can kind of like figure out what the subconscious belief is that we can, I use tapping to help soften this internal conflict, so that that part of us feels safe to let go, and let that part of us that has that conscious desire just freaking like go as far as it wants to, and not sabotage its own success.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes. So you have just kind of introduced this super, super powerful tool called tapping into this conversation. So I know that some people listening to this are going to either not know what it is, or going to want to really be intrigued by how
Yeah.
does this kind of intersect with business success. So tell us a bit, what is tapping?
Yeah. So tapping is it's essentially a mind body tool to help shift your energy. And it is a combination of ancient Chinese acupressure and modern psychology. So what we're doing is we're actually tapping on different points on the body, the same points that they use in acupuncture and acupressure. But rather than needles, we're just using a light tapping sensation to stimulate the energy in the same way. And what this does is it sends, on a physiological level, it sends a calming signal to the amygdala in our brain, where our body's fight or flight center is housed. So when we're in relationship to money, like, we get stressed out. we get afraid. We're afraid to ask for the sale. We're afraid to put prices on our sales page. We're afraid of not being able to handle the money when it comes in, like all of these things. We're afraid of making more than our partners. And so all of those things, because they're attached to the stories and events from our past, that's going to activate our central nervous system and turn on our fight or flight center. And so when we're in relationship to money, we're frazzled, we're afraid, we're in fear, we can't make a good decision, we can't see the forest through the trees.
Yeah.
And when we're tapping, what tapping does is it sends that calming signal to the amygdala in the brain, to take it from what I call freaked out brain to what I call peace brain, or what Harvard cardiologist Herbert Benson calls the relaxation response. And when we're in the relaxation response, we feel calm, we feel centered, we feel grounded. Money doesn't seem so much like this like big thing that we have to overcome, but it's just like, okay, this is information. Like, how do I navigate this? We come at it through the lens of what I call a kind scientist, where we're just information gathering and seeing what the next step might be. We're open to the possibilities of a much larger vision for our lives than when we're in freaked out brain and everything just feels small and tight and contracted.
Yeah.
So that's the benefit of tapping, bringing awareness to and tapping through some of these old stories and beliefs, so that we can get into a place where we can actually see a much bigger picture for our future than we could before we tapped.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. This idea of just calming everything down so that
Yes.
you can see so much more that's ahead, and,
Yeah.
and see the possibilities again. Because in that
Yeah.
panic mode, we literally our focus just narrows right down into
Exactly. Yeah. 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 And no good decisions are made in that place.
no
Yeah.
one has ever made a good decision in that state.
No.
And
No.
it's a horrible place to be. It is
Yeah.
a horrible, horrible place to
It
be.
really is, and I mean, we've all been there. It's pretty gnarly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so having a tool that you can, turn to when you are finding yourself going, "Oh my God, oh my God, oh my God," the
Mhm.
revenue's not coming in this month like I had
Mhm.
planned, is incredibly vital to help you
Mhm.
kind of overcome that panic, so that you can start to think strategically again,
Yeah.
and start
And
and
also,
focus.
like, having a lot more compassion for yourself,
Yeah.
and bringing a sense of gentleness to your process, rather than like this, again, like this, like, kind of, patriarchal, like, go, go, go. I got to just do, and be productive. And like, you know, I'm going to not use the phrase that just popped into my brain.
Yes.
You know, really, it's a very old-fashioned kind of way of working and being in the world. And so, like, again, like tapping will help us become a bit more expansive and compassionate with our process, which ultimately helps us be more productive.
Yes. I
Yeah.
think this
We
is
have more energy. Yeah.
yes, I love this because I think this is, all part of redefining what success looks like and how we
Mhm.
want to do business and being and allowing ourselves to do business in a way that feels, like you said, expansive and
Mhm.
supports us rather than, burying feelings so that we can push, 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 which is
Right.
the traditional way of doing things. And I
And
know
yeah, I mean, man, and that just hurts and harms us
yeah,
rather than helps us, because that's like, even just if you look at the way work has been designed in this 9 to 5, Monday through Friday, doing the same thing over and over again for 30 days in a month, and then doing it again for the next month.
yeah.
Well, whose cycle does that sync up with? Because it's not a woman's, right?
Mm,
The system that we call traditional was built by and for men, not by and for women. And women have been trying to squeeze themselves into this paradigm that was not built for them. So I
mm,
think, like, when you look back at when the feminist movement started happening and women started, going into corporate America and getting higher paying jobs and doing all the things that the boys did, which was great and an incredible step for womankind. And now it's like we've evolved to that time where it's like, what, maybe we don't have to fit ourselves into a system that was not designed for us. Maybe we can start creating new systems so that we can thrive in a new, more energized, more sane way. And I think that's like, when I think of female leaders and female entrepreneurs and women starting their own businesses, like, that's part of why I get so excited, because it's like there's a new paradigm happening, and
yes.
it is starting one woman at a time, because so many of the organizations and corporate cultures, they're still running by that old paradigm. But it's
Mm,
like, as these women get the courage and have the bravery to start their own things and create a new system within their own business, and then, teach other people how to, especially other women or other women plus, how that's not only possible, but it's actually healthier, both physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and financially. Like, that's going to become the larger paradigm moving forward. That's going to become our new baseline.
mm.
Yeah.
Yes, I love that. So
Yeah.
empowering, right? Just to, if it's not working, there's a reason, and there's a new way of doing things, and it is okay to embrace
Right.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then there are all those stories from our past that say, like, oh, it's not safe to do that. Like, I shouldn't do that, or I should,
Mm,
stay in the same old for this reason or that reason, because that's how my mom did it, or that's how my dad did it, or that's how society is telling me I should do it, or that's how I've been rewarded in the past. And again, like, that can bring up some of this. So it's a gentle process over time that we can learn to shift from the old paradigm into the new one.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So so EFT is a tool that you can use on this journey. And so
Absolutely.
um for someone new to this, because I'm sure that a lot of people who are listening will be new to this, what would you say are the first few steps to starting to get a handle on your money blocks with EFT?
Yeah. So I would say, go check out my free money mindset training. And there's a couple of bonuses that I'm adding for this workshop, which you can get at theluckysoul.com/money training bonus. And inside there, I have 3 bite-sized money mindset training videos that will help you identify what your specific hidden programs might be, and give you some examples in that training. And there's also, especially, well, with the bonus, there's actually 3 guided tapping sessions that are included. So there's a little explainer video, and then there are 3 guided tapping sessions that you can do with me. And that is a wonderful place to just start, to changing your relationship with money and figuring out what your hidden programs are. But even if you just start like, there's these different areas where this hidden program comes from, which is like family, religious, or spiritual upbringing of your youth, the patriarchy and society and the media. So even if you just start asking yourself, like, what did I learn about money growing up? What did mom or dad or my primary caretakers say about money? What was the vibe, the energy around money? Was it positive? Was it negative? Was there a lot of fighting around money? What do when I think about money, like what comes up for me? Like one of the exercises that I have in one of my courses is just to like write down like money is, and write down everything that starts to come to mind, like money is, money is, money is, and just keep asking yourself that as you kind of free write, and you'll be surprised at all of the negative gunk that starts to come up. It's like, oh, money is evil. Money is for rich people. Money makes you greedy. Money is like, makes me a materialistic a-hole. Oh, well, that's interesting. Well, then if that's the energy that you're bringing to money, why would money be attracted to you? Right. So when we talk about that, this is a very long answer and I'm starting to go off on a tangent here. So just stop me if I'm if I'm going too long.
Not at all. No, this is fascinating.
Like, I talk about too, like being conscious of the energy that you're bringing to money, because we're all in relationship to money. So just as we're in relationship to another person, it's like, I got to check in on the energy that I'm bringing to the relationship before I tell the other person that they need to change or they're not showing up for me. So if I'm, in relationship with money saying like, you're evil, like I want more of you and loathe you at the same time. Like, where are you? I want more of you in my life. I want you by my side, but I hate you and I'm afraid of you. It's like, that's not a healthy relationship.
That is not a healthy relationship. No. Let's just underline that right there. If that's any relationship in your life.
Any relationship. Yeah.
It's going to drain you.
It's gonna exactly. And that's interesting language, right? Look, it's going to drain me. And so does it increase my bank account or does it decrease it? No, it starts to drain it because money feels draining. Yeah. So then how do we move from a paradigm of money feeling draining to money feeling fun and exciting and like an ally that I'm partnering with that like helps me do fun things in the world and make an impact?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. I so love this also because it mirrors a lot of the work that I do with some of my clients, because one of the things that happens if you have been struggling in your business for a while and you've had high hopes and they've been somewhat dashed, is that you can start to feel resentment towards your business. You can start to dread having to show up in your business. You can start to feel angry at it, right? And so one of the things that I do with my clients is talk about what the relationship that you have with your business, but in very similar terms to how you're talking about the relationship that we have to money. Because when you start to think about how can we make this fun, how can I be in partnership with this creative source in my life, then so much shifts. Yeah. And so this is foundational to the work that I do with my clients. It's like, how do you make this fun? How do you make sure that it's lighting you up? And if it's not, there's no judgment in that, but let's get out of that state so that we can get to the place where we're thriving.
Yeah, because your business is meant to support the life that you really want, not hinder the growth of the life that you really want.
And also like be a vehicle for sharing the thing that you're really good at that is going to help people. Right. And so when you come at it from that place of like, I have something I need to share because I know people need what I have. Then it is going to light you up. Then you are going to find, how to clear those obstacles. Because
absolutely. And it's so important, like coming back to your why and coming back to your values, like that is so foundational when it comes to your business and your money. It's like, why are we doing this to begin with? And like when I get into a funk in my business or when I hit a roadblock and I think about like, how what I have learned has helped me on such a deep level. And then I think about someone coming to the work for the first time, and like, what would happen if I didn't show up and they didn't have that tool, if I was like one less resource that that person could
Yeah,
find. Like,
exactly.
what a shame that is for both, for me and for her and for the world, in ways that we can't even imagine.
Yeah,
So it's like reframing even like your own value in the world, um, so that you can show up and proudly offer and share what it is that you do, with excitement and joy and with no apologies. You know, there's a little, like, I feel like it's kind of leaning into like sales and marketing where people are like, I don't want to do that
yeah,
either. Yeah, but that's a piece that I get into too. Yeah.
yeah. So I'm wondering if you could share like an example of a client who you've worked with and what it was like for them to go through the process of uncovering these blocks and coming out on the other side using tapping.
Yeah. So my client, I'll call her Claire, she came to me because she had an office full of clutter and she could not seem to get her stuff organized. And she wasn't sending out invoices for work she had already done. So she wasn't getting that money. And she wasn't getting proposals out the door to pitch to new potential clients. And she was a big, big-hearted change maker in the world, doing work to protect native land. And she couldn't figure out why she had all this clutter. So we worked together, and we were tapping, and I asked her, what's going to happen if you start to clear some of this clutter? And she was like, well, then the money is going to start to come in. And I said, well, what would happen if the money started to come in and you started generating that income for yourself? And she said, I would be unethical. And I was like, oh, that's so
Mm.
interesting. I was like, well, where is that coming from? And she goes, well, my dad used to say that anyone who made large amounts of money all at once was unethical. And so I feel like if I bring in all this money, that I would be unethical and in turn dishonoring my father. So you see how the clutter was not about the clutter. It wasn't even about the invoices or the proposals or the money. It was about how she felt like she was going to dishonor her father if she started to make all of this money.
Well, no wonder it wasn't working then. I mean, that's
Right?
a
So it's
serious
like she
block.
could get a clutter coach and she could like try to, get organizing bins and things
Yeah,
like that. And like that's it might
yeah,
work for a period of time, but again, like the clutter is just going to reappear.
yeah.
So once we tapped through that energy around her dad and her loyalty to her father, like she started clearing the clutter. She started getting that money in from the invoices that where people owed her money. She started getting proposals out the door. And the last email I got from her, she said, I just had my first 3 consecutive $30,000 months. And I still get a little choked up. I'm like, oh
That's
my God. I was like, what?
uh,
Yeah. Yeah.
amazing.
But
That's such a
that's the power of
powerful,
the work.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, seriously powerful work you do. Yeah. There is a question that's come through in the comments, which is, what do you tap? We didn't mention that. Like
What do you tap?
tapping.
Like, where are
Yeah,
the points on your body?
yeah. What are you tapping when you're
Yeah.
tapping?
Okay, that's a great question. I love that question. And go grab my training too. Grab my money mindset training. Whoever asked that question. The points on the body are, so we tap on the outside of your hand, which is your karate chop point. And then we go through the points on your body. So it's right where your eyebrow begins. You can tap on one side, the other side, or both sides. I like to tap on both sides because you're getting more energetic bang for your buck.
Okay.
Then there's the outside of the eye point. Then there's the under the eye point, which is right on the bone underneath your eye. Then we tap on the under the nose point and the chin point together. So you can do one hand on top, one hand on the bottom, or you can do top 2 fingers, bottom 2 fingers. Then there's the collarbone point, which is like we're just right underneath your collarbone, which I tend to go like this and switch from here to here. The cool thing about tapping is that it is a very forgiving process. Like these aren't magical, like there's not a magical order to the points. And even if like you're a little off on your, the actual point, like it's really not going to matter. So don't get too
So you
perfectionist.
can't get it wrong, right?
Pretty much, you can't get it wrong unless you don't do it. That's what we
I love that, yeah. A
then
lot of yeah.
yeah. Then there's under the arm point, which is about 4 inches underneath your armpit on both sides. So you can do that like this, or you can do it like this, whatever is more comfortable. Then there's the liver point, which in basic EFT, which some people might be familiar with, they don't use this point. But in what I do, which is called Pro EFT, this is a bonus point that we use. So it's like right where the underwire of your bra might be.
Okay.
Then we do the wrist point, which again, they don't use this point either in basic EFT, but I love this point. And I like to do it this way. You can also do it this way, but you actually have meridian endpoints in all 10 of your fingertips. So again, you're getting more energetic bang for your buck if you do it this way. And then the last point is the top of your head. So when we're tapping, we're saying different words and phrases based on whatever issue is up for you. So we always start on the karate chop point. We acknowledge, like, even though I have all this money fear, and we acknowledge what that money fear is keeping us from. Like, we go right into the resistance because it's so important to vocalize the actual fear, because what that does is it helps to neutralize the fear. It helps to take the power away from the fear. And I love what Brene Brown says about shame, that if you put shame in a petri dish, all it needs to grow is secrecy, silence, and judgment. And it's the same thing with our fears, or our money fears, or whatever fears are. Like, as soon as we say them out loud and we identify them, like, that fear like loses its power, which is amazing. So we're always vocalizing the fear when we're first starting. We're saying, I don't want to let this fear go because this is what's familiar. This is my old pattern. I don't know who I'm going to be on the other side of this fear. What if I'm judged if I let this fear go and I get visible and, people say mean things? So it's safer to stay right where I am. So we say that, we vocalize it out loud so that we can actually kind of see it for what it is, which is a BS story. And then we can tap through our, whatever else is coming up for us. And we'll just it's almost like we're having like a venting session with a friend. And we'll just say the different aspects of these fears out loud as we're tapping through the points. And there's just, I don't know how it happens. There's like a magical kind of alchemical thing that happens when we're saying our fears out loud and we're tapping on the points. It's something that, sometimes when you're just talking about it, it doesn't kind of go that deep. But there's something that happens, again, with like that calming signal to the brain, and you're doing like two things at once. So your brain is kind of working in different ways. And there's something that happens that just like, it's like you're wiggling a tooth and you're wiggling that, that fear. And you're like, is this actually like, why am I holding on to this? And your brain starts to make connections of like, oh my gosh, I am afraid that like, Uncle Joe is gonna, say something at Thanksgiving dinner, and like, I don't even care about Uncle Joe. Like, why is this like such a, and it's so weird kind of connections kind of start to pop up. And then a lot of times, like, there'll be some laughter because like, we didn't realize that we were connecting this one issue to this other thing that really doesn't make sense, but that's the connection that our brain made in a moment in time for some reason. And that's what's holding us back. And then we're like, oh my goodness, like, this is, wow, okay. Like that, it just kind of like gives you so much breathing space. And it's just, it's a lovely way to gain awareness around what's actually going on, and then being able to see the bigger expanse of what might be possible before you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could see that, the body mind kind of integration happening while you're doing that, because you're doing things on both sides of the body. So you're activating both sides of the brain by the tapping. Right. And then you're also, using the other part of the brain that's thinking and also feeling. And so you're bringing all of that into some sort of synchronous activity, which usually it's not doing. So I could see that could be very transformative indeed.
Yeah, it's really cool. And you made me think of just like super pro tip. If you really want to activate both sides of the brain, you can tap with your arms crossed.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, because that's gonna, again, it's gonna just do a different kind of activation. This is also really good for neurodivergent folks, and folks who learn differently, where you can just, just tap cross body, and it's gonna just activate your brain on a different level, which is kind of cool. Or if you have a really stuck issue, that's also a good thing, a good practice to have.
Wow.
It's like a
Wow.
ninja.
That's amazing, amazing information, amazing, valuable tips there. I feel really lucky that we had this conversation, and I can't wait to go download the gifts that you've shared with people who are part of this summit. And I just so grateful for your time today and for your graciousness with dealing with the technical hiccup.
Oh my gosh, I've dealt with enough tech issues in my own life to not really get flustered by it anymore. Yeah, and I get it. It happens. It's out of our control, and here we are.
Yeah,
I'm glad we could connect now. Perfect
me
time.
too. Couldn't
Mhm.
be more honored to have you in this summit, and so grateful for your time today. Thank you, Karen, and thank you to all of you listening as well.
It's been my pleasure. Thank you so much for having me, Natalie.
Okay.